Namaste everyone. We are going to start very soon. Good afternoon. I hope you all are having a good day and have had a good week. And welcome to the second session of our workshop from iswara.org. I will be, before continuing, I will just start with an invocation, just like we always do with anything connected with Indian culture. So as you might expect, this has to be a stuti or praise of Goddess Saraswati, whom we consider the goddess of learning. And at any point of time, if you have questions, please do comment and I'll try to address them as much as possible. And then we'll keep the conversation going. Ya kundendu tushar har dhavala Ya shubhra vastranvita Ya veena varadanda manditakara Ya Shveta Padmasana Ya Brahma Achyuta Shankara Prabhrati Birdevaihi Sada Pujita Samam Patu Saraswati Bhagavati Nisheshajadyapaha A very warm welcome to this session on the introduction to Indian classic music appreciation. We presented a session last week. We really had good feedback on that session. Over 1,600 people, 1,600 views were recorded on that. Lots of people joined. Some of the people sent their feedback too on what they wanted to hear today. And It's been a pleasure to talk to you all about some of the intricacies of classical music, what makes it special, and how we can actually become better listeners by just getting awareness about various some of the terminology that's used in Indian classical music. So that is what we did last week, and we will continue that. And through this fabulous initiative, we are trying to, through Iswara.org, we are trying to address some social help. Iswara.org helps spread Indian music in the United States and has had plenty of programs so far, been doing performances, Lecdems, and so on. And now, because of the lockdown, because of the COVID crisis, we know that a lot of people are under stress. They need funds to feed the hungry people, and Iswara is trying to pitch in through the initiative. So there is a fundraiser going on. It's there on the page. Please contribute if you can, and tell your friends too. And this is just the beginning of the season, so we will have more lectures coming in by different artists on various features of Indian music, what you can learn from the masters, and we'll be very happy to be connected on the page. Please go to Iswara.org page and like the page so that you keep getting the updates on what's happening at Iswara. So with that introduction, I think it's I see people are joining in, and I hope everybody can listen the audio well. Last time there was some audio issue to start with, and I hope we have rectified it this time. But if in case you find something troublesome, please comment there so that we can try to make adjustments as I go. For those who don't know me, my name is Rama Prasad. I live in the Bay Area. I'm from Karnataka, and I've been a lifelong learner and a student of Karnataka Sangeeta. I do also, I'm interested in the history and evolution of music, and that's made me to sort of look through various sources of how our music evolved over more than 2 millennia. And that's one of my topics of interest, and some of that will be bringing up today. And I also do some of my original compositions. I've done several kritis, varnas, swarjatis, tillanas, and the like, and they're all on my Facebook page that's listed on this slide. You can look them up, and with that we will go to the summary. We'll go to see what we will do in this session. In the middle, in between, it's possible that there is a delay between when I'm talking and the slides appear, because it's how it's how the live works. So I may be looking at the other screen, so if I look distracted, it's not me getting distracted, but I'm looking at the other screen. I hope you don't mind that. So now in the part one, this is the part two of the series, and in the first part we saw some of the things like what makes Indian music Indian music. Now, what are some of the fundamentals? How does Indian classical music differ from other classical music systems, such as the Western or the Chinese? And we also spoke about melody versus harmony. And just to reiterate, Indian music is what we call a melodic system. So where a development of a raga or a melody is not a great translation, but because of because there's nothing else, we just keep calling it melody. But a raga-based system is probably a better nomenclature. Sometimes we have to use the terminology used by outsiders. Normally, because when we say in Kannada or Telugu or any other language, anna means anna is made of rice, right? But some people may cook whole wheat and they call it godhi annam. So then they have to put that additional adjective. So let's see, and then, okay, there's a comment saying there is some echo, possibly because of the laptop or you're feeding back to the mic. I have actually turned off, I hope there is a, I have turned it off, but let me make sure I have. Give me a second. Okay, I think the echo will go away. If it doesn't, please let me know. Did the echo start recently? Okay, I hope. Okay, I hope that will go away as we go. If it doesn't go away in the next minute or so, we'll see what to do. It may be because how the audio is actually turned off over here. Let's hope it'll stop now. Okay. Are you able to hear me now better? Okay, let's see if. Okay, let's go further. And then what we did was we visited some of the keywords such as Shruti, Swara, Sthai, Raga, and Gamaka, etc. This is what we did last time. And now in today's session we are going to see more things like what are the differences between Hindustani and Carnatic Sangeeta, some comparison and contrast, and then what about what causes a raga to be a raga, right? So that is the characters. That's the character of a raga, or the personality of a raga, and how the ragas ragas create various moods. I think this is what we can cover in this hour-long session. So let's, without further ado, we'll go to we'll start with the stuff for today. Okay. Okay. So to recap what we said last week, Sangeeta is Geetam Vadyam Nrutyam Trayam Sangeetam Uchyate. That says Sangeeta Ratnakara. So about 700-800 years back, we would call music as that one includes vocal music, instrumental music, and dance too. But now we have actually taken off dance from there. It's mostly instrumental and vocal music. That's what we call Sangeeta. And so Indian music, it's very intertwined with our history, our culture. We attribute the traditions go back to Samveda, and the earliest musical texts date back to more than 2500 years ago. So that might come as a surprise to many, but we have traditions going back all the way back to 2500 years or plus. Naradiya Shiksha is more than that old, and there is Natya Shastra is maybe 2200 to 2000 year old. So it's a melodic system, and the base Shruti is not defined. That means there's no compositions that are set to play at a specific Shruti or a specific pitch, but it's left to the convenience of the artist. The system is also very heavy on improvisation. That means there is a lot of scope for the artist to explore a raga beyond what is done for by the composer. So the composer composes a piece, but it is left to the interpreter or the vocalist or the instrumentalist who is playing to improvise on what is already composed. So that is where we say it is heavy on the improvisation. Shruti, Swara and Gamaka, that's what we saw. Our system is based on 7 Swara and 12 semitones in an octave. And a raga is something, the raga is something that is not just a scale. The definition is Ranjayati iti ragaha, that means the one, something that pleases you, that creates colors in you, that makes you, that enlightens you, enlivens you. So that is what is called a raga. And then gamaka, as we saw last week, was the ornamentation of a swara. So swarasya kampo gamakaha shrotra chitta sukavaha. So that means a gamaka is something that has to be an ornamentation, a modification of a note, but one that pleases the ear. So any combination or any variation in a note is not a gamaka, but it has to be something that is pleasing to the ears. So we can say that gamakas are one of the defining constituents of a raga. Okay, so with that, let's go to what is Hindustani and what is Carnatic Sangeeta. So our music was one system until about 12th century. At that point of time, the invasions from the West Asia, from the Persia, Arabia, and Central Asia, these are where the invaders came from, and then as they came into India, some of their musical elements also got infused with what was being practiced in India, primarily in the north side. So a few centuries down, they actually split up quite noticeably. So probably by around 15th century, they became quite distinct. So so as to say, there are almost two different types of music. But if you go deep in there, you will find that the basics are all the same, and all the fundamentals are really the same. So while the divergence is around 750 years old, but the names that what we refer to them as Hindustani music and Karnataka music, Hindustani Sangeeta and Karnataka Sangeeta, they are pretty new. They are not that may come as a surprise to many. These names have not been in existence for about maybe 150-200 years. While our music itself is 2000 years ago. That's also the reason is also easy to see. It's for someone else to actually look at your music, your culture, and name it, because we probably don't have a name for it ourselves. We just call it Sangeeta, whether it was in the north or south. And then when they became very apparently different, the names came into vogue in the 18th-19th century. Karnatako Dakshine Syat Hindustani Tatote goes the saying in one of the books, which says the music that is practiced in the south is called Karnataka, and the one that is in the north is called Hindustani. And as I said, the fundamentals are same. We have the same set of 7 swaras and 12 semitones that are there in music. We have the same styles of gamakas. Some of them are used more in the south, some of them are used more in the north. So that's what causes the differences in the ragas as we see. But as I said, the unity of the two systems, Hindustani and Carnatic Sangeeta, is very, very evident. So next, coming to you might be surprised that I'm referring to it as Karnataka Sangeeta and not Carnatic, as many people call it. The reason is this is my pet peeve. The term may be here to stay, but we should be aware of what the correct namings are. It's important to recognize the word Carnatic or Carnatic is not really the correct nomenclature, because that region, whatever they call it's a British era name for a region between Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Andhra, around Tirupati, Valajapet, that area that doesn't really have anything special to our development of music. But in all South Indian languages we call it Karnataka Sangeeta. So it could have been started from, the naming could have come from the Karnataka Empire or the Vijayanagara Empire that spanned the whole of South India from about 14th century to 16th century, who were a great patrons of art, had their roots in Vijayanagara, and the area was a seat of music thanks to the Haridasas. Even Purandaradasa was from that area. We call him Karnataka Sangeeta Pitamaha. Although we know that music has been there for much longer. We call him Karnataka Sangeeta Pitamaha because we know. He is considered as the one who started off the method of teaching of Karnataka Sangeeta as practiced today. Later on, music blossomed, grew into much bigger form during the Nayakas of Tanjavur. The Tanjavur Nayakas were also great patrons of art, and they had their roots in Vijayanagara, or the Karnataka Samrajya. So that is how probably the name Karnataka got attached. Also, many of the authors documenting the development of music belong to the Karnataka region as well. So these are some of the reasons why the name. It's better to call it Karnataka music, and as I said, we would not spell our own names wrongly. So it's only good to call our music systems also more appropriately. So dwelling a little more into comparison between Hindustani and Karnataka Sangeeta. I know probably many of the listeners are aware of both. You may have listened to great renditions from both sides. You may have different levels of understanding of both systems, and you can see, a listener can see, there is a divergence in between the two. So what is the divergence? The divergence comes in the form of the compositions that are sung. And there is also a lot of similarities. So if you go to a Karnataka Sangeeta concert, you might see there are probably in a 3-hour concert there are maybe 8 to 10 pieces or compositions that are presented. But in a Hindustani concert, it may be much smaller. You might notice that the Hindustani improvisation or Manodharma Sangeeta they may be expanding the ragas for much longer, much more elaborately than is done in the Karnataka Sangeeta. So these are all the things that are the divergences, as I said, have come in because of their history, because of how things have changed over the centuries. But it may be surprise to know some of the old forms, such as Drupad, that have been taught in various musicological texts, are present in Hindustani Sangeeta and not in Karnataka Sangeeta. While some of the old features, some of the old ragas that have lived in our musical system are present in Karnataka Sangeeta. For example, ragas like Nata and Varadi, which we know have a history of 1,000+ years, the exact ragas are not present in Hindustani. So it's an evolution of a tree, or you can look at it as a big banyan tree where there are aerial roots developing into their own little islands where growth flourishes. So it's something similar. You also see that there are same ragas with different names in Carnatic Sangeeta and Hindustani. For example, in Hindustani we call a raga as Malkos. The same raga is in Karnataka Sangeeta is Hindora. And there is Kalyani in Karnataka Sangeeta, while a very similar raga is called Yaman. So it's all, there are some differences, there is a lot of unity. It's also said that the development of Karnataka Sangeeta was more in temples, while that of Hindustani was more on the royal courts. This is something that I cannot agree 100%, because even in the south we know that there have been lots of kings and patrons of art and culture. Temples, yes, temples have had a long tradition of musicians associated with them, and many compositions in Carnatic Sangeeta are devotional, but that doesn't mean the music itself is straight to the temple. But they have been great centers of how the music has been preserved. So we should definitely be aware of that. Okay, now let's go into some interesting talk about ragas and what makes a raga, and I think this is where it starts getting more interesting. So, how many ragas are there? This is a question many people ask. Many students ask this question, and generally the typical answer given is the ragas are ananta, means that's infinite. That saying is there for sure. What it means is the possibilities of the mind and possibilities of the art and the music system as such is limitless. It doesn't mean there are infinite ragas that are in practice. So by tradition we say at least 4 swaras are needed for a raga, but it does not mean every 4 swara combination becomes a raga. So now let's say sa pa sa gama pada gama pada gama pada. These are 4 swaras, but it doesn't really make itself into a raga. Sa ma da sa sa da ma re sa re ma da sa da ma re sa. These are some of the ragas that have least notes, which span a whole octave. There should be spread of notes across, and at least there should be 4. Traditionally there used to be at least 5, with maybe in one direction it might take 4, and in the other direction it might take 5. But there are a few ragas at least that can be developed into a raga with 4 notes. So that's sort of the minimum for something to flourish. Also, what's this one there? So, how are the finite? Also, it's also should be noted at any given point of time. At any given point of time, the ragas that are known and practiced is really finite. It's not really ananta, or at least the popular ragas at any point of time is probably anything between maybe 100 to 200 or 250. But ragas come and go in their evolution. They become popular and they go out of vogue and so on. Some ragas have been there for thousands of years, old, while some are decades old. So just an example. Sada palaya sarasakshi samana rahita mohanangi sada palaya. This is a composition in Raga Mohana. Mohana is a raga that has been practiced in our music for more than 1,000 years, while the name Mohana is quite recent, meaning the name associated with this raga was something called Domba Kriya earlier, and then it changed to Regupti, and then for probably last 300 years it's called Mohana. And interestingly, it was also called Bhupali at some place at some point of time, and that is where the North India Hindustani Sangeeta took the name, and there it is known as Bhoop or Bhupali. Okay, and then but what happens is sa re ga pa da sa. This is how the murchana of this raga goes, and at times there are changes done due to a personal preference or whatnot, or let's even say a tribal influence. Sa re ga pa da sa. There is a tendency of the swaras, the shuddha swaras becoming komala, or higher note turning into lower note, and that getting associated with the same name. So in Carnatic Sangeeta we have a raga called Bhupali. Sa re ga pa da sa. It has the same murchana, meaning it uses the same swara, sa re ga pa da, while in Mohanite is sa re ga pa da. All the higher varieties of swaras are there, while and that is the Bhupali of Hindustani Sangeeta. But in South, sa re ga pa da sa. So this we call Bhupali. So this is how the divergence has occurred, and for us to see. Another interesting thing is people ask, can ragas be really created? And how does this creation happen? So we know that it's the artist's capacity to define something is actually what encircles how big or how wide an artist can go. So it's possible for someone to come up with a new raga based on a previously known raga by changing something, or maybe even use some specific sancharas, enhance some part of a raga and call it by a different name. So we know that in case of composers like Tyagaraja, they came up with hundreds of new ragas. How did that happen? So basically, Tyagaraja in particular, he was experimenting with new scales. That was the time when the new, comparatively new system of melas, what we call the Venkatamaki system, was coming into vogue. So there were lots of experiments people were doing, and Tyagaraja, with his great imagination, brought up lots of new scales and made them into real ragas. So for example, one of the ragas that he created is called Ranjani. Sariga mada sarida maga durmarga charada mulanu durani vana jalara durmarga charada mulanu. So why do we call it a new raga? Because there wasn't anything that resembled this before his time, and he created it out of nothing, for example, so to say. But just a simple scale will not become a raga, so it has to be built by more compositions, so that somebody who takes up that for elaboration has more to draw from. For example, after Tyagaraja, there's plenty of composers who took this raga up. It fancied them, and so therefore now you can see plenty of compositions in this raga. While in 1800 or 1850, 150 years ago, there was just one raga. There was just one composition in this. Now you might probably find 25, 30 or even more compositions in this. So the more compositions there is, it is easier for someone to develop or the raga to develop its own personality. So that is what the raga lakshana is. So there are other cases where a composer like Tyagaraja brought up a new raga just by introduction of a new phrase and repetition of that phrase that will cause it to be a new raga. So a raga like Ravichandrika, ri gama pa ma ga ma ri za ri sani pa 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 ri za ri ri pa ma ga ma ri ga ma ri sa. These are some of the ragas that are defined by excessive use of certain phrases. So we already had some such ragas which are phrase-based ragas, or which are signature-based, we can say. For example, there are several ragas that go by name Kannada. In Hindustani, it's called Kannada Ang. So Ga Ma Ri Sa, it's the signature of Kannada. So there are many ragas like Kannada, Darbari Kannada, Bageshri Kannada, Abhogi Kannada. Sada Maga Mari Sa. So that becomes, so every one of those has a Kannada Ang. So who are people who are, have a lot of imagination, like Tyagaraja, and later on, even coming to our times, Balmurali Krishna, have come up with many new ragas that weren't there before them. Does every raga become very famous or well known? Not necessarily. So it all depends on how people perceive it. Now, for example, there is a raga called Shivaranjani. It's very popular for in film music too. Sadi ga pada sa pa ga ri sa jane kahan gaye wo din nillisadiru vanamali kolalaganava. So like this, and it's ಶಿಲೆಗಳು ಸಂಗೀತವ ಹಾಡಿವೆ ಬೇಲೂರ ಗುಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಶವನೆದುರಲ್ಲಿ ಅನುದಿನ ಅನುಕ್ಷಣ ಕುಣಿಯುತ್ತಲೀ ಶಿಲೆಗಳು ಸಂಗೀತವ ಹಾಡಿವೆ. So nobody knew about this raga called Shivaranjani 100 years ago, but now it's very popular. So it's in their life of the long life of these swaras and our music, ragas come and go as per the preference of people, because after all, music is has to feed to the listeners, right? So if listeners take are partial or like certain compositions, certain ragas a lot, they are going to be favorites of the artists, and they are going to sing it more, so that creates more awareness about the raga among the people. And so that's how ragas evolve over time, and that is the life cycle of ragas, if I may call that so. Okay, now we actually went through this before, role of gamakas. So we said swarasya kampo gamakaha, meaning an oscillation of a note is what we call a gamaka. And gamakas are one of the things that give life and character to a raga. As I said, in the ragas there are something what we can call as scale-based and phrase-based ragas. When I say scale-based raga, a raga like Mohanar, Hamsadvani sa ri ga pa ni sa ni pa ga ri sa. So even this is Hamsadvani. If there are students of music, you probably start after your initial exercises and Gitas, etc. You might listen a Lakshana Gita in Hamsadvani. You might learn a Varna. Jal jakshani bhasi. And then if you go to any concert, that concert might start with Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham. So it's a very popular composition in Hamsadvani. So why I call it a slightly scale-based raga is, you can even get the feeling of the raga just by saying the murchana or the scale of the raga. Sa ri ga pa ni sa ni pa ga ri sa, without even doing the lot of the gamakas that are required for this raga. While if it is a raga like Todi, if you just sing the Arohana, Avarohana without any required gamaka for Todi, the scale will be sari, sari ga ma pa da ni sa, sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa. If you see the swaras that are there in that particular raga, this is no way close to the raga Todi, because Todi is defined by some of the Kampita Gamakas on that particular raga, on Gandhara and Daivata. Sariga ma padani sa, sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa. Yerana painta chauka jesevu. So this is what that Kampita is one of the key elements that define this raga Todi. And in some of them, in some ragas, we have a phrase based, a repeating pattern that I can say. For example, if you take a very popular raga like Ananda Bhairavi, Gariga ma pada pada pa sa, sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa. Sagariga. This is one key phrase that defines this raga. And going to the approach of Gamakas between Hindustani and Carnatic Sangeeta, as I said, there is some difference in how they are treated. In general, Hindustani Sangeeta prefers the Jaru. Da ma ga. This is what we call a Jaru. Or a slide. And Carnatic Sangeeta uses Jaru too, but to different extents. And some ragas more and more or less. But in general, if you take a raga like Hindola, Samajavara gamana sadhukrit sarasabja palakala tita vikhyata sanida nida madama gamagasa zagamadhanisa sanida magasa. This is how it's generally treated in Carnatic Sangeeta. While in Hindustani, you might see this like so it's not just about the speed of it, but how the approach that makes the difference between these two ragas. So you might see the ragas pairs such as Kalyani and Yaman, practically same but still different. Mohana and Bhup still practically same and different. Hindola and Malkam same and different. And ragas like they call it Hindol in Hindustani, but we call it Sunada Vinodini. Same yet different. In the next few slides, I'm talking about some key characteristics that cause a raga to be a raga like Graha, Amsha and Nyasa. These, what I can say is in Hindustani, it's a bit more stricter than in Carnatic Sangeeta. I'll explain that as we go. Just like everybody has a personality, ragas have a personality too, and that we call the lakshanas. Okay, so to text define different lakshanas or characteristics of a raga. I'm not going to go through every one of those that are listed in texts, but at least I'll list some of those and how they show up in practice. Okay, those are Graha, Amsha, Nyasa, Mandra, Tara, Alpatva, Bahutva. These are some of the things that we will briefly visit in the next few slides, and how they give the raganess to any raga. So coming to the word called Graha. So this has nothing to do with the Graha or the planet that most of us know about. There it's a wandering object in the sky, but here Graha is something that in a musical sense it's a swara that leads to the beginning of a raga naturally. So it is in as I said, in Karnataka Sangeeta, a lot of things have become somewhat simplified by making Shadja Sa as the Graha, Amsha and Nyasa for lots of ragas. So most ragas you can start with Sa. While their Hindustani counterpart, they are more stricter on how they start. For example, you might have heard this very famous song from that Yesudas has sung in a very old movie, Chicho. Ni riga riga magari sa sa ni papa ma riga sa ni sa ga pa ma pa. I think this is Jabdeep Jale Ana. Jabdeep Jale Ana, Jab Sham Dhale Ana. This is set in Raga Yaman, and as you can see, both the compositions Jabdeep Jale Miri. That is how the composition starts off, and even in that swara segment, Niriga Riga Magari Sasani. So the Ni here is the Grahaswara. So it's starting on Ni. So the Raga, the Kalyani Raga or the Yaman, Raga Yaman is said to have the Grahaswara as Ni. Ni Riga Riga Magari Sasani Papa Ma Riga Sani Saga Pa Ma Pa. While in Karnataka Sangeeta we can see that most a raga like Kalyani doesn't have a very strong beginning with one specific note. If you see compositions such as Vasudevayani Vedalina Ido, it starts with Vasu Sasa, and then coming to another Nidhi Chala Sukhaman Mugadapa Nidhi. So it's starting off in Ga. And if I say look at a Devanama of Purandradasa, Kelano Hari Talano. So this starts with the Purshadja. So you can see we are not really following that Graha in the Mandra Nishada for this particular raga. So that is where it causes a raga to be more Kalyani-ish or more Yamanish, although the raga, the swaras, inherent swaras are the same. So this is what causes the difference. So the next term is Amsha. Amsha is a swara that's very important, or one that characterizes a raga. So it's called it's also called a Jivaswara. So there can be more than one Jivaswara, but it's a swara that you cannot do without. For example, if you're singing Kalyani, the Pratimadhyama sa re ga ma pa pa ma ga. So without that pa ma ga, with that ga, with that ma, without that swaras, you are not showing, you cannot show the Kalyaniness of that raga. So this is called the Amsha. And Nyasa is a swara on which you can hold and you can rest on. Just coming to the same example, in every raga you cannot stop at every note and rest on that. It depends on the character of the raga, how it has developed. And for example, in the same Kalyani raga, Pamaga, so you can stop, hold there, you can elaborate at that that note. There are certain ragas where you can do that for every swara, but in certain ragas you cannot do that for every swara. So that is what defines those specific ragas. For example, if I said Ananda Bhairavi Sagari Ga, so Sagari, the Rishabha that comes in between, encapsulated between the two Gandharas, is kept to a minimum. You don't dwell on the tree. Sagari Ga Ma Ga Ma. You can dwell on Ma. You can dwell on Sagari Ga. You can rest on. You can dwell on that Ga. But you cannot do that on that Ri. For the Raga Ananda Bhairavi. Rama Nama Payasake Ga. Rama Nama Payasake Ga. Krishna Nama Sakkare Magari Sa. You can dwell on that Sa. But that Ri you cannot. So Ri is not a nyasa, but Ga Sa Ni. These are all can be the nyasa for this raga. So each raga has its own set of graha, amsha and nyasa. That is what in general causes the uniqueness of a raga. So when you change this graha or amsha, the grahaswara, it can actually feel like a totally different raga too. There is a phenomena called graha bheda that's a slightly advanced exercise in classical in Carnatic Sangeeta, where the artist is singing one raga and then holds on to a specific note, and from there he elaborates in small phrases, briefly giving you it actually sound like another raga. So that's probably a whole topic by itself. We'll not get into that, but that is where the term graha bheda comes in. And also just by changing the fulcrum where you are singing, it might sound like a different raga. I sang bits of Hamsadvani Sariga Panisa Vatapi Gana Pratim Bhajeham Vatapi Gana Pratim Bhaje Sa. If I change this Gayati Vanamali Madhuram Gayati Vanamali Pushpa Sugandha Sumalaya Samire Pushpa Sugandha Sumalaya Samire Pavana Munijana Yamuna Tire Gayati Vanamali. So this was also in Hamsadvani, but the fulcrum was on the Madhyama. So the Shruti went on to a different place. It started off at a different graha. So that actually created the feeling of a much different raga than Hamsadvani. So this is how the graha can play onto your ears. So there are other compositions, other examples for ragas that show a very strong graha. For example, let's see a raga like Shahana. Let me put this back to Panchama Shruti. So some of those notes are so strongly suggestive of the raga characteristic that just by singing Re, so just with this one swara, it's almost possible for you to suggest the raga Shahana. Re, re ga ma pa ma ga ma re sa re. So this now you can see, if you see several compositions in the Raga Shahana, you can see that this plays up in the compositions. For example, Rama Ninnenam Vandanamo Raghu Nandana Setu Bandhana. Started there. Rama Ikanannu Brova. Sorry, I said Rama Ninne, that's a different composition. Rama Ikanannu Brova Radha Dayaleda. So it starts with that same re. So that's what I wanted to show. How the Graha is employed to show the structure of the Raga. So now I think we, as I said, in Karnataka Sangeeta, Shajja is considered a natural Graha, Amsha and Nyasa for many ragas. The change in Graha and Nyasa for a scale can give you a different experience in listening to, as I illustrated. Okay, so next going to Mandra and Tara. These are also two characteristics of the Raga. Mandra means the lower end. Sorry about the typo there in the slide. Mandra is lower limit of a raga's expansion in improvisation or in composition. Tara is the upper limit of a raga's expansion in composition or in improvisation. So if this is where, for example, a raga like Janjoti, so, or Punnagavarali or Nadanama-kriya. So these are the ragas that are limited by the limited to where they can go. So Kaliyugadali Hari Namavanenedare Kulakotigalu Udharisuvavo Ranga. I should go to the Madhyama Shruti for this. Kaliyugadali Harinamavanenedare Kulakotigalu Dharisuva Rigama Pamaga Marigari Sanida Pasasa Rigama Pamaga Magariri Sanida Pa. So this raga called Janjoti, it goes from Mandrapa to Madhyapa. It doesn't go above that. So the Mandra limit is Mandrasthai Panchama and the Tara limit is Madhyasthai Pada Pamaga. Some of them, some people might say it might go to the Padani Pamaga, but it never goes to the Tarasthai Shajja. So this is again something that defines a raga. For example, that determines a raga like Chittaranjani. No. So which is again sung in Panchama Shruti, but it has a limited sanchara that differs it from Karaharapriya. Nada Tanumanisham Shankaram. So this one goes to Rigama Sa Rigama Padanida Pamagari Sa. So that goes, the upper limit is going up to the knee. It doesn't go to the Tara. So that is where we said a Karaharapriya can go to 3 octaves, but Chittaranjani, it's a limited range with the same swaras, but that's the Mandra and Tara characteristics of the raga are different from that of Karaharapriya. Okay, so I think we have 5 more minutes, but I think I have little more material, and I guess I hope you can stay, and we can complete that this presentation instead of pulling it to the next session or anything like that. Okay, so the next one that I'll go is Alpatva Bahutva. These are again characteristics of a raga. raga that are alpatva is a note or a phrase that can be and should be used in a constrained way. Bahutva is used in plenty. It's a note or a phrase that can be or should be used in abundance. Or this is what I call as the the identity of the raga. As we said, as I said earlier, in a raga like Arabi, pa magarisa, rida pa magarisa, saida pa magarisa. So this is in this raga, the notes like nishada and gandhara, ni and ga, don't appear strong. You don't stop there. So this is something that has to be used less, alpatva. And that is one where you cannot do a nyasa, you cannot stop there. And in fact, if you have seen compositions from Tyagaraja, there are compositions where he totally, including the Pancharatna Kriti, he does not use the note nishada. So that is the alpatva coming up there. But bahutva is something that is repeated often, like the gamarisa in the Kannada ragas, or as I illustrated earlier, ri gama pa ma gama ri gama risa in Ravi Chandrika, or just ri gama ni da pa in Shahana, sa ni da pa sa ni da pa in ragas like Saurashtra. So these are the ones that sort of you are looking for when you are listening to music. These are the kind of signature that you are listening to identify what those key elements are. So how did these characters develop? These developed over centuries. This music is a demonstrative performing art, so it keeps changing. And what the text describes is a time-stamped variety or whatever was in vogue at some particular point of time. Grammar, just like grammar follows language, but later on the grammatical rules guide the usage of language. It's similar to in music too. So the ragas have had a long past. They evolve, and then texts write about how a raga is a specific raga, a given raga, Kalyani, or Shankarabharana, or Mohana, so have to be sung. So therefore, if somebody sings Nishada in Mohana today, nobody accepts it, right? Because the text say it has to be Sarigapadasa. But how did it arrive there? It's through its history of long hundreds of years of history. So just like the languages evolve, music evolves, and so do ragas. And then once we have a corpus of ragas, the taxonomy comes in to make it easy to comprehend and maintain. So that someone cannot come and sing Sari Bagari Riga Pa Kapani Panisa and say this is Mohana. They cannot call it my Mohana Raga because it's a well-known entity. If you come up with a new scale, you can probably call it your own raga and give your own name and see how you want to do that. But you cannot use a established raga and then call it by a different name. So that is where the taxonomy for the classification of ragas, etc., come from. So generally, the goal of this taxonomy is describing the unknown in comparison with a known entity. For example, as I said, Mohana is a very ancient raga. It's been there for 1,000 plus years. And Hamsadhvani is comparatively recent, maybe 250-300 years. So 300 years, I would say. When we don't know who invented this raga called Hamsadhvani. It's claimed as Muthuswami Dikshita's, but I'm very sure it is not his own creation because it's been there. It's there in text before him. Both Hamsadhvani and Amritavarshini, both are claimed as Muthuswami Dikshita's creations. But what we can agree is he probably was the first to compose in that raga. Sa sa ga ma pa ni sa sa ni pa ma ga sa Ananda Amrita Karshini Amrita Varshini. This is the one he composed in Amrita Varshini. But there are texts before him that list this raga and give the structure of the raga. And Hamsadhvani is attributed to his father, Muthuswami Dikshita's father, Ramaswami Dikshita. But we see that scale Sariga Panisa in texts before Ramaswami Dikshita. So what we can say is when Hamsadhvani came into work, people said, what is this raga that you are singing by changing the Dhaivata to Nishada? If you see the difference is Sariga Padasa Sariga Panisa. So the difference is Dasa becomes Nisa in Hamsadhvani. So in Hamsadhvani, so people said, what is this raga that you are singing with changing Nishada from Mohana? So that is what is called describing the unknown in comparison with the known entity. Oh, they said, okay, if you change the Daivata to a Nishada in Mohana, it becomes Hamsadhvani. So that's how the whole set of taxonomy works. So there is a method in the madness, so to say. And when people come up with the new musicians come up with these new ragas, not all experiments are created equal. Some have a long life, some short, and some successful and some not so successful. I think I just have 2 more slides to go. I think that's with that we will wrap it up. So this is a very I will very briefly touch on this ragas and rasas. This by itself can be a totally 1 hour or 2 hour session or a series of sessions where you can go at length. But I just wanted to bring it to the attention of people and tell how composers use the rasas. The meaning of the word rasa means it's the essence of the juice. So it indicates the aesthetic flavor or sentiment or mood created by a raga. For that matter, it's not limited to music. It can be for any type of art. In our Indian aesthetics, rasa is for literature, for music, for dance. It's there for everything. For painting, everything. So generally, there are 3 elements for the feel of a rasa. Number 1 is words. So not all compositions have words. So if the words are written in such a way to cause you to be sorrowful, to be happy, to be devotional, so that is what constitutes rasa at one level. The other is the music, the combination of notes, the consonant and dissonant notes, sharp versus flat. So that is one big thing what causes a raga to be bright. For example, Sariga pada sara pagari sariga pada sara pagari ni pagari sani pagari gari sani pagari saga padani sani da pagaga da padani dani padani ga padani saga padani ga sani da pagada paga sani saga ma pa ni pa ma pa sa sani saga ga sani sani sada pa ma pa ga mari sani saga ma pa ni da sa. So I sang a mixture of several ragas here, but the sentiment of all of them is there is an inherent brightness in that. So you can use it in rasas that show positiveness. in our the rasa theory itself is very big. We call there are 9 rasas: Shringara, Veera, Karuna, Adbhuta, Hasya, Bhayanakaha, Bhibhatsa, Raudra, and the last one being Shanta. So earlier text said 8 rasas, then it became 9. So any raga that uses the sharper notes is more causing a brighter result, right? So it can be used for notes such as heroic, love, romantic, etc. While if you use the common notes or the Shuddha in Carnatic Sangeeta, Sari, Magari sa 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 ri ga ma 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 ga 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 ri sa sa ri ni sa ri ni ri sa ri ga 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 ma ma ga ga ri pa pa da ma pa ga ri sa ri ga ri ma ga pa da ni da pa ma ga ri sa. So the combination of the notes, generally the Shuddha Rishabha to Sadharana Gandhara, and these are these notes, and they cause you a little bit of sourness. So they are used for rasas such as Karuna. And also the last one I say is cultural association in memories. Some of these things we are associated with certain moods for certain songs. We have seen some sorrowful song to be tuned in a certain way, and then we associate that tune to that rasa. So that also comes up with what causes a raga to be a bit happier or sadder. So it's a long topic by itself, but I did not want to end this presentation without talking about it. So it was a very brief inroad going into that. So finally I'll conclude with this last slide. So on how to identify ragas, we just spoke about lots of things over here. It probably might have looked like a mishmash to many, but the point is identification of ragas is something every music listener wants to get into. Why is that? It's just curious. It's very interesting. It's any listener knowing what is being sung. It's an exercise in itself. And but to be truthful, there is a very easy way of identifying ragas, or well-defined way. It may not be very easy, but it's something that can come with practice. So listening is the key. Basically, you need to listen to a lot of music, and your ear gets tuned to those notes, and your ears start matching patterns to patterns. So then you go from the known to the unknown. So if you go to a concert and you go to 10 concerts, and in 3 concerts they start with Vatapi Ganapatim Bhaje. So then your mind thinks like, oh, okay, this is something that's that begins a concert, and you might go and look up what it is. It says Hamsadhani. You'll find that it is in Raga Hamsadhani. And then when you listen to another compositions in the same Raga, Gam Ganapate Namo Namo Shankari Tanaya Namo Namo Gam Ganapate Namo Namo. So your mind associates those phrases with what you have listened already and know to be Hamsadhani to this new composition, and then you make that association. And today it's much easier. You can look up, you can Google a song and see, okay, this is also in Hamsadhani, and then it aids in your pattern matching than having to do everything by your own memory. So this is what is this is how you go for identifying ragas. So listening is the key. Go from known to unknown, And then when you have seen a few compositions in a given raga, it is sufficient for you to your mind to assimilate that and identify. Oh, okay, this is this is Natakaranji. So Re Re Gama Pa, this is Shahana. Sa Ni Da Pa, this is Saurashtra. Re Gama Pa Magarisa, this is Maya Madavoda. So this much is, even without listening to a whole song, your mind sort of gets into matching those patterns and identifying those ragas. So this is what finally what we call as Swarajnana, meaning being able to identify the swara behind the lyrics. Some people may find it easy and natural. Some people may find it very hard, but it can be developed. So you should you have only my word, but if you listen to a song, if you listen to a swara version of the song, then if you can still identify the song, what that means is you have some inherent Swarajnana. So if you have listened to Vatapi Ganapati vocal rendition and then listen to a violin rendition of that, and you are actually able to identify it as Vatapi Ganapati, what that means is you have some kind of Swarajnana there already. And then identifying what swara is Vatapi Gari Risa, that level of identifying the swaras underneath the lyrics, that is probably the next step. Yeah, many people will get there, some people may not get there, but even then trying to do that is useful by itself. So you when it comes to some ragas, you remember the association by phrases. And as I said, all ragas are not made equal, and some are big ragas, some are very small ragas. Small ragas meaning in the sense they are more defined by the compositions. There is just a few compositions. If people, when they sing that, it is that raga. But otherwise, just because of the limitation of the raga, there are not many compositions. A raga like Kadana Kutuhala, Raghuvamsha Sudam Buddhichandra Shri Rama Ram. So this one, for example, it's a very popular composition in the raga Kadana Kutuhala. There are a few more in that raga, but they have not become that popular. But once you listen to that, okay, this is Kadana Kutuhala. Sari madagari sari mama dadani gaga pasa sani da pa maga sari ri mama dadani ga pa pasa sari ri mama gari ri sani ni da da pa magari raghu Vamsha Sudam Buddhi Chandra Shri. So I think I am coming to the end of the session. So thanks for listening so far, and I hope this was an interesting talk, and I would like to hear from you guys on what you want to hear in the future sessions. As I mentioned, Iswara will be doing more sessions in the coming up weeks or through the year from various artists and various topics of music. Would be very you should be watching out the Iswara page, like the page, so that you get updates. There will be plenty of learning going on, e-learning. The name is Iswara, so there is a lot of e-learning possible, and more so with the stay at home, it becomes even more interesting situation to be in to do a lot of e-learning. So go like the page, listen to. We have regular posts over there every few days. Interesting musical stuff, their recordings. Browse the page, check them out, and be in line with future announcements. It was a great time talking to you all. I hope this was useful and was interesting. I will be looking forward to your comments and any suggestions for future. We will come back with interesting stuff on music, musicology. We will have experts on composers doing their compositions. We'll have different instrumentalists coming in to talk on their specialty areas, etc. And with that, I will be ending today's presentation. Stay home, stay safe. I wish you all, all your families to stay safe in this time. Take it easy. Don't rush back to work once the situation eases. I think it's better to be safer and work ourselves slowly. Have a musical rest of the weekend or the week. Thank you. Namaste.